to make culture of peace a reality here in this country, just in the way that it has been pursued in Norway. It makes him one of the strongest supporters of our campaign in the country, and we couldn't be more delighted to have him here with us today, Congressman Keith Ellison.
Well, thanks everybody for coming today. Sorry I'm a little late, I'm a little lost. But this issue of the Department of Peace and the propagation of this movement and spreading it, I think is one of the most important things that any American can do, or any person around the world, but particularly Americans, because we live in a country that has the world's most powerful military, and we live in a country that has the largest gross domestic product in the world. And so I think that as Americans, a lot of things are done in our name, and we need to get a handle on that.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's funny because I can hear the echo coming back. That's the first thing about hearing me in Minneapolis. But I just want to say that, well, I'll say again, that I think it's particularly important for us to be together today to talk about the movement of spreading the idea, increasing support for the Department of Peace. Because we live in the United States, which is a country that has the world's largest gross domestic product, the world's largest military. And so I think we have a special and maybe even unique responsibility to take the resources of our country and redirect them to peaceful purposes. I think that we should conceive of the United States as an agent of positive change in the world if we can finally get our hands on the reins of power in this country and direct them for peaceful purposes. As you and I know, we don't have our reins on the hands down. Right now we have a different situation. 43 cents out of every dollar of our nation's budget is devoted to warfare and military needs. And you well know that the cost of this is tremendous. The Department of Peace idea is a very simple idea, as you know. It's not a new idea. George Washington conceived of this idea and thought and contemplated a Department of Peace. If we have a Department of War, and we certainly do have one, that's the Department of Defense, which is actually inaccurately named. It should be called the Department of War because that's really what it is. It's not the Department of Peace, it's the Department of Offense, right? But we do have the possibility, if we can imagine and envision, a United States in which we divert our resources toward peaceful ends. I think it's really a simple question of organizing, really a simple question of movement building, and it's easier than done, obviously. Easier said than done. But the fact is that it can be done if we continue to have forums like this, help people understand the Department of Peace concept, if we elect people who are in favor of the Department of Peace, like Jack Nelson Palmer or myself or many other people, if we continue to put elected officials, but the most important person to develop the Department of Peace has got to be the average citizen who continues the grassroots movement. And I'm so glad we're out here in Mahtomedi, in this beautiful church and this beautiful forest around it, to be talking about the Department of Peace. And this is a great place to be doing it. But we can also do it right on Cedar and Riverside, right? At Darrell Hydro, maybe we could have a meeting there. We can have people come there. We have to spare no place where we're talking about the Department of Peace, because the Department of Peace to the Department of Peace, devoted to developing peace. I just want to say the Department of Peace, as I understand, would be a department that would not just help promote the will to make peace, but actually help us develop the skill to make peace. Making peace is not simply a matter of good intentions, although it does have to start with that, right? It's also a matter of understanding how conflict develops, how conflict perpetuates itself, and how to resolve it in a way that that is mindful of the fact that many conflicts in the world are deep-seated and serious. We don't want to be under the illusion, of why can't they all get along? Well, that's a beautiful sentiment, but you and I both know that it's glaringly naive, isn't it? There are serious conflicts in the world, but we have to embrace the idea that you don't have to solve conflict through military means, right? We can use alternative means to solve conflict, and everybody lives, which is a tremendous concept. They've convinced us that the only way to resolve serious conflict is through warfare, death, destruction, and violence. They've convinced us that to be realistic means to be militaristic. You understand what I'm saying? To be realistic is to be militaristic. We can't possibly go talk with the Iranian leadership because, be realistic, do you really believe that these people would sit down and talk with us? Yeah. I actually do believe that. I want to get back to that in a moment. And please let me know when we're running low on time, because I do want to get to the dialogue and to the topic. But this idea of militarism being the realistic, hard-nosed way to deal with conflict is actually the opposite is true. I don't have to tell you that warfare is expensive, right? And if it's expensive to us, it's lucrative for somebody else. Anything that's expensive to you is lucrative to somebody else. And it is obviously the opportunity costs of war are enormous when we talk about diverting our nation's budget. As Martin Luther King said, war is the enemy of the poor. War is the enemy of the poor, of the nation that wages war. And then, of course, we don't devote enough attention, because we do devote some, but we don't devote enough attention to the environmental devastation of war. Depleted uranium is a serious issue that some valiant people have been doing great work to raise. But, I mean, there's so many other destructive things that war does to our environment. We have to talk about the disproportionate burden war has on children. There are 5 million displaced persons in Iraq. Is that right, Sam? What does this mean in terms of educational opportunity, health care for children? What does it mean in terms of a child having a safe place to grow up, an adequate education, and an opportunity to meet his or her full potential? And I think it's also important to mention the disproportionate burden war has on women. It plays a very gross and disproportionate burden on women, on refugees, on displaced persons. And so we've got to, so the Department of Peace can help us have a far more nuanced understanding of the cost of warfare, not just in terms of dollars and lives, but all the other costs, because we got to count up the bill. And it would help people around the world understand the alternative. I like to talk, when I talk about the state that the United States is in terms of our posture with regard to the Department of Peace and warfare and things like that, I'd like to talk about a village that produces apples. Anybody ever heard this? Just think about us as being a village, and we make apples here. And we make a bunch of apples, and everybody takes a few home, and we have what we make apple cider. What else? Apple pie, some sauce, right? And we eat a few of them. And after a while, we ate up our apples, and we still have more left. So what do? We sell it to the people next to over there, right? And maybe we get back something in exchange, but we exchange, right? Now, after they make sauce and juice and pie and what else? Dried apples, powder. They're going to need some more apples, right? And so we give them some more apples. But what if instead of apples, we were selling bullets? How would they use up their bullets such that they would need us to give them some more? Our country has incentivized war. We are addicted to war. They have infused war into our economy.